Don't forget to click that subscribe and bell icon to receive a notification each time I upload a new video. Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today is the 30th of July and it happens to be the birthday, the actual birthday of the person I'm going to do for my Heroes and Heroines final page for July. Just in time. So let me turn over to my overhead camera and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so this is my Heroes and Heroines journal. So let's just turn to the next available page. And this is going to be my Heroines page for July. So, as you've probably gathered by the thumbnail, this is my heroine. So, Emily Brontë, author of Wuthering Heights, was born this day, today, the 30th of July in 1818. So she would have been 204 today. Happy birthday, Emily. There you go. Yeah, so this has been my copy of Wuthering Heights that I've had since the 80s. Yeah, I know. The dust jacket, long gone. Long gone, but doesn't it look beautiful, even without the dust jacket on? There you go. But I have a confession to make. I originally, like I said, read this book when I first got it in the 80s. I couldn't finish it. And I've still not finished it. I know, shame on me. I think I got to around about chapter 30, about here. But never actually finished it. And I think the reason I didn't actually finish it was because just as I was getting to that stage, there was either a TV adaptation or a film adaptation that was done. And I'd watched it, or been forced to watch it because my parents were watching it. So anyway, and I never got around to finishing it. But I promised myself one day I would sit down and I would start right the way from the beginning and read right the way through again. Back in the day, I wrote myself a list, a bucket list, a book bucket list of books to read before I shuffled off this mortal coil. And obviously this was one of the ones on there. And just before this one on the list was Moby Dick. Yeah, I did read Moby Dick. So no wonder I couldn't get through this because I'd just finished Moby Dick. And that really is a hard read. So yeah, I think I skipped this and went on to the next one on the list, which I can't remember what it was. It may have been Around the World in 80 Days, or I think it might have been 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It was a Jules Verne one, I think. It was after this one. But, you know, they were really easy reads because they're only about that thin. Compare that to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I mean, it's like that compared to that. So, yeah, so this one really was hard going. So, without further ado then, let's move that out the way and get started on the page. Now, I have made some notes for this one because there is a lot of info to go with the Brontes. Obviously, Emily Brontë was just one of 6. 5 girls, 1 boy, Branwell being the only boy. Emily was the second youngest. There was Anne and... I think it was... I can't remember. So before the 6 Brontë kids were, let's see if I can remember this, we had Maria, Elizabeth, who both died young as children, Charlotte, Branwell and Anne. Was that 6? Maria, Elizabeth, Charlotte, Branwell, Emily and Anne. Yeah, there you go. All 6. Excellent stuff. Right, so, and Emily was the second youngest. There we go. So, like I said, born on 30th of July 1818. Right, so the first thing to go down on the page, born in the Regency period, therefore we have to have some form of Regency background. Yes. So I'm going to put down on this some Regency stripe paper. And I wanted a kind of nice bluishy kind of. Originally I was going to go for a greeny kind of Regency stripe or even a Regency kind of damask, but you know what, I kind of like Regency stripes, so that's what we're going to have. So This image that I've done here was originally only a quarter that size. Luckily enough, it was easy to step it up on my computer. So that's going to be, let's do it that way. Let's do it that way. Just grab my coffee, hang on. Right, let's get some grab and go. Because I've got about 6 bottles of this stuff just stood on my desk. And I've emptied my bin. I've emptied my bits bin. Look, it's empty apart from those 2 little bits at the bottom that seem to be glued in. No, they're not. God knows how long they've been in there. Right, so grab and go glue. Like I said, this is going to be, I've got loads to go through, loads of info. So, the Brontes. Okay, so originally from Thornton in Bradford, which is just outside Bradford, which I've been to many times because I had a friend who lived there back in the day. I myself lived in a place called Thornbury, which was the other side of Bradford, but hey ho. So I'm quite familiar with the area. Our friend Karen currently resides in Haworth, or just outside Haworth, where the Bronte family moved to in 1820, I think, 1820? I think so. Yeah, something like that anyway. Just have a look at my quick notes. I thought I'd written down when they moved, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, so they moved to Haworth. Moved to Haworth in 1820. There we go. Right, so the next thing to go down then is a map of the area and how Haworth. God, that's a bit bright, isn't it? Haworth is there. There we go, in that map. It's just there. So that's going to go down on there. Okay, so a bit of history behind it all then. So yeah, when Emily was 3, that's when they moved to Haworth. It was only a year after when Emily was 3, in about 1821, when Emily's mother, Maria, died of cancer. There we go. So their upbringing, if you like, because obviously Emily and the children's father was a curate, was left then to Maria, the mother's sister. She was also called Elizabeth. So she took on the upbringing of the children. There we go. So that's the map. So they lost the mother. Emily lost her mother at the age of 3 in 1821, and she obviously went to school, educated. The children went to school. It was at the point where 2 of the children had gone to school that they actually contracted tuberculosis. So 2 of her sisters at school contracted tuberculosis. They were sent home and they died. So those were the ones that you don't really hear that much of. I think it was, let me have a look quickly, Maria, the one that was named after the mother, and Elizabeth both died early as children. So there we go. So they'd lost 3 female members of the family. So anyway, years later, Emily went to become a teacher after she'd finished her education. Went to become a teacher at the Law Hill School in Halifax. Didn't like it. Couldn't stick it. Was homesick. She became ill, doing 17-hour days. So she returned home in 1838. And that's when she began work on her first and only novel, Wuthering Heights. Right, so let's get this stuck down because there's a lot to be said about the book. So obviously the other Bronte sisters had written, but what Emily had written was completely different to what they had written. And originally, when this book was first published in 1847, it wasn't published with her name. it was published in 3 volumes. The first 2 being this, and one was from one of her other sister Anne. So it was 3 volumes published by Emily and Anne. And the other book that was published at the same time in 1847 was Agnes Grey and Brontë. But they didn't publish under their own name. So they published under the names of Ellis Bell and Acton Bell. Ellis Bell, I think, was Emily, and Acton Bell was Anne. There you go. It wasn't until 2 years or so after Emily had died that actually her name went on the book, which was sad, because she never actually saw the book being published with her name on it, which is really, really sad. So, what does Wuthering Heights actually mean? So, in case you've ever wondered, if you've never read the book and you've always wondered what does Wuthering Heights actually mean, or what is Wuthering Heights in the book, well, Wuthering Heights is the name of the farm where Heathcliff lived. Now, Heathcliff was an orphan that was brought into the family that lived at Wuthering Heights. So it wasn't actually a member of the family, he was an orphan that was brought in, adopted if you like. And Cathy of the story, Cathy, let me in, kind of, Cathy, it's me, Cathy, let me in your window, Cathy, also lived there with Hindley, Hindley, anyway, so that's going to go there. But before we stick that down, I'm going to put this picture in, because we'll come to this picture. This is the iconic picture of Cathy's ghost out the window. Yes, as in the song by Kate Bush. It's me, Cathy, let me in your window, oh, oh, oh. Right, so, let me just get back onto that quickly. Right, so Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights is actually the name of the farm, of Heathcliff's farm, or where he was living, his dwelling, his abode. Now, wuthering actually is an Old English word for a strong wind or a blustery wind, and heights obviously just means it was up on a hill. So actually, Wuthering Heights means windy hill. Yeah, I know. Doesn't sound quite the same. I don't think it'd be quite as a popular book if it was called Windy Hill or Windy Hill Farm. But then again, it may have done. It may have done. Now, incidentally, about 5 minutes drive away from here, from where we live, there is a place called Wind Hill. And believe it or not, it's a hill and it's really windy up there. Yeah, there you go. So, yes, so this kind of iconic image of Cathy's ghost out the window, kind of haunting Heathcliff, was very iconic for its day, and it is said Bram Stoker actually used that kind of imagery of the ghost out the window as inspiration for Dracula and vampires, you know, tapping out the window. Was said to have been inspiration for that. Particularly Stephen King said that when he was writing Salem's Lot, that particular image of the ghost tapping at the window played a big part in one of the sections of the inspiration for one of the sections of his book, where one of his characters is turned into a vampire and comes back and tries to gain entrance. So an iconic image, if you like. So let's bring that down to about there. So it's just tapping over the edge. Lovely. Okay, so talking of the other members of the family, so Bramwell died suddenly in 1848, so just a year after Wuthering Heights was published, and it was said that at Bramwell's funeral is when Emily caught a really bad cold, severe cold, that quickly developed into inflammation of the lungs, which then developed into tuberculosis, which was rife. Don't forget, her 2 sisters had died of tuberculosis, you know, years before. Wasn't really helped either, and this is a bit gross, to be honest. Apparently, the house where they lived in Haworth was obviously next to the churchyard, because obviously the father was a curate. And apparently the water at the house where they lived was contaminated by runoff from the church's graveyard. I said it was gross. I know. No wonder she developed inflammation of the lungs and tuberculosis herself. God bless. Didn't really stand much of a chance, did they? Back in the day with tuberculosis and God knows what else. See, these days would just take antibiotics, but not back then. So, how very, very sad. So, yes. So, she became very, very ill. Obviously became a recluse. She refused to see a doctor until almost the very end. By that time, it was too late. And then she died just a few days or a few months after Bramwell. He died in September, and Emily finally succumbed to the tuberculosis on the 19th of December 1848, just 3 months after her brother. Now, the reason I'm putting this little picture of the doggy down is because this doggy is a Parsons Terrier, Parsons Jack Russell, sorry, called Keeper, and this was Emily's beloved dog. So this was a painting, I think, that she did of Keeper. That's what the name of the dog was. And Keeper was by her side when she was dying, and to the right up to the point, he refused to leave her side until she'd passed. So that's why I'm including Keeper in the page. So there you go. So, like I said, lots and lots of information. So, and of course, Wuthering Heights was caused a stir when it was first published, because it wasn't like the other books by her sisters. The other books by her sisters were all kind of romance and comedies and that kind of stuff. Wuthering Heights is nothing like that. It's full of violence and sex and passion and the harshness of real life, and the cruelties of human nature, and just wasn't really what people were expecting. But, you know, that's just the way it is, and that's just the way it was. She told it as she saw it. And that's why it endured to this day. Has become a modern classic. So there you go. So that is my heroine for July, done on the day of her birth, just 204 years later. So there you go. So Emily Brontë, author of Wuthering Heights. So perhaps I ought to maybe just finish the book, start from chapter 30 and finish it before the end of the day. So maybe I need to fill my coffee cup, sit down and finish it before the end of the day, just as a thank you and a little bit of a tribute to Emily on this day. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me create my July Heroines page. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friend. I'm sure you've got more than one. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. And don't forget, you can access your exclusive angel-only content over on my website. There's a link in the description area below. Thank you.